The Creators Circle is a weekly call for creators like you to ask your questions about the law of attraction. To get information on how to connect, please go to cocreationcoaching.org/Creators Circle.
Hey everyone, this is the Creator Circle, call number 8 we're at now, and today we are just discussing whatever happens to come up, as always. So this is a place for discussing the law of attraction, asking questions of the law of attraction, and just kind of seeing where the discussion goes. For those who are listening to the recording, if you want to get the transcript, you can sign up underneath this recording. And also feel free to leave comments on this call. We always like comments. So the topic I was going to start out with, I was talking to a client last week sometime. We were doing some work with, if you guys remember, I talked about self-forgiveness a few weeks ago. And so we were doing some, for self-forgiveness kind of work, like going back through previous situations and, forgiving oneself for certain things that happened. And then we were talking about something that's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum from self-forgiveness, but does the same kind of job, which to me is taking responsibility. And taking responsibility is basically when you have like situations in your life where either they keep repeating or you keep dwelling on them or something like that, and you blame someone else, or you blame life, or you blame the universe, or you blame God, or anyone else except for yourself. When you blame yourself, that's self-forgiveness. When you turn the blame outwards, or just have something that keeps happening over and over and over again, and you don't acknowledge it, that's where taking responsibility comes in. And so to me, I think the reason that is really useful, for obvious reasons, because we're creators, we're doing the law of attraction here, right? And when you have something where you're not taking ownership of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you're at fault. It's not about fault or anything like that. But this is about, it's just about being able to move on. If you have a situation, I always give the example of, the family member I have, who I mean, Christine, who used to always get jobs where she was overworked and underpaid, and she would complain about it. That's not technically, in a physical sense, her fault. I would never say, that's your fault. But
no, it's your fault.
It's your fault. But it still is a good candidate for taking responsibility, because when you say, it's not that boss's fault, it's that job's fault, it's, the rules, and it's everyone always overworks me. What do they say? What's the saying out there? What's the common denominator? It's you.
Me.
It's me.
And so, go ahead.
No, so, when that's a common situation where taking responsibility is really helpful, because if you just say, it's just something that keeps happening in life and, everyone just takes advantage of me and blah, 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 it's not helpful, because we don't learn anything from it. And the whole point of what we're doing here is to learn from our actions, our lessons, our mistakes, and do something about it. So taking responsibility, saying, okay, I realize this keeps happening to me for some reason, and I'm going to take ownership of it, even though I don't maybe not even know what I did that could have contributed to this, but it keeps happening, so there must be something in me that keeps drawing this to me. Right?
And sometimes it's just a mindset, but
yeah,
I've noticed that. But what the thing is, it's not whose fault it is or who done it. It's not a detective novel. We don't care about that so much. But we do want to make sure that for me, I've noticed, is if it happened to me, even if it's not my fault, that means it happened to me anyway, so I don't want it to happen again. So I'm going to make sure it doesn't. It doesn't matter how. I'm going to take responsibility and ownership and say, all right.
Exactly.
This right here, for me, it's letting other people. I've allowed other people sometimes to like influence me to do stuff that I just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So what I've decided to do over the last several years, and especially the last years, if it absolutely stay on my path, I might give lip service to something that you tell me. But if it's not on my path, I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
That's just
right.
it. I don't care how much it hurts your feelings. Yep. Your feelings do not matter to me.
Yep.
And I actually really mean that. I'm not trying to be mean about it.
No.
Some people want to say, well, well, your feelings matter, but no, actually your feelings don't.
Not to me.
I'm sorry, they just don't. And because I've learned that it's too. I have suffered too much damage from people who thought they knew this.
Yeah.
No, man, that does it. And then all of a sudden I have to repair it. Like I'm in a situation now, been in it for years. I got to repair because I allowed certain things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on me.
Mm-hmm.
It was, because I always tell people, if I had just been left to my own devices, I'd have been fine. But see,
right.
I allowed other people to get me off path. And so now I had to reforge it.
Exactly.
And is it their fault? Well, yeah, kind of, because they could have really just chilled out, but they didn't. And I suffered for it. So I'm going to now make sure that never happens again. Done.
Exactly.
And like I told someone a while ago, when people start acting a certain way, I just sort of distance myself, and no one is excluded. Yep. Friends and family don't care.
Exactly.
Because I've learned that it's too devastating to not do it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying be rude. You don't have to be rude to people. Give them hey, I appreciate you helping me out. Give them lip service. Even investigate the thing they told you to investigate a little bit, just so you can show that you actually, you appreciate what they did, but don't do it.
Right.
Don't actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's like when you take responsibility for something, again, it's not about whose fault it is. It's just about...
It's an oops, I didn't want that.
Right. Yeah. Like, okay, do you want this in your life? Because, okay, like way too many people, and I feel like even in the LOA community...
Because when it gets in your life, boy, sometimes it's hard to get it out.
I know, right. But I feel like a lot of people, even in the LOA community, play too much of the victim role. We're like, oh, well, this is what my life is. This is just how things are. And maybe I was meant to be this way and, whatever. And don't take responsibility and ownership and say, you know what, this is my life. And if this is my life, then I can live my life the way I want to. If I want, let's say, abundance, I can have abundance. If I want love, I can have love. If I want health, I can have health. Like whatever it is that I want to have, or like in the example I gave, if I want to get paid for the work I do and I want to get paid well for it and not get taken advantage of, then that's what I'm going to get.
That's right.
And maybe I haven't gotten it so far, but there must be something in me that's drawing that into my life. And I'm going to find that and change it and get different results.
Just change your vibrations. What you got to do.
Right.
You cannot allow that. So it's just taking responsibility. It's just doesn't matter whose fault it is. That does not matter literally at all. You just want to make sure that you get what you want and need.
Yep. Something else it reminds me of is this very fear-based, we give up our power to outside circumstances. I'll give two really potent examples here. The first one is, let's say, with money. Okay, actually, I can give three examples. Pretty much any area of life, I can give an example. So let's take money for an example. And people will say, oh, well, the money system is rigged against us. The poor keep getting poorer and the rich keep getting richer. And the government takes from us and they give it to the rich and blah, blah, blah. And I can't change my circumstances. How many people do you hear?
A lot.
Whining and complaining about not being able to get money, not being able to...
Literally does not matter.
Right. And you know what? Like, seriously, I don't want to hear it.
Because here's the thing. It might be true, but
yeah, it could be true.
What?
It could be true. But
you might want to do something about it for yourself.
You get to choose what story you want to live in. Do you want to live in the world where that's true, where, poor people are getting taken advantage of and you can't do something about your circumstances? Well, be my guest and do that. But if you want to live in the reality where you get to choose the life that you want to lead, and that you have the power to do that, then step into that reality. Don't make excuses about it, because those aren't compatible with the type of reality that we're talking about. So you have to do that on a daily basis, so it's not, you can't make excuses about that kind of stuff. Another example, let's take relationships. And people will say, oh, all the good, all the good ones are taken, for example.
Oh yeah, I've heard that a million
or all that these types of people are looking for is they're looking for money, or they're looking for, they're vain, and they're looking for someone who's, just has the good looks and blah, blah, blah. And, and you have, like, especially with guys, you have this stereotype of the nice guy, that always never gets chosen, right?
You just have to decide what your angle is gonna be, and play that angle and get those people that are gonna choose you.
Exactly. So relationships, we have the same kind of thing where we have this negative belief system that's playing into the whole thing, and all it's doing is justify why you are where you are and why you're not getting the results you want to get. And again, if you choose, you can live in the type of reality where you can have the relationship you want, no justifications, no excuses. You can step into that. Same thing with health is a huge one. And this one's big on my radar right now because my newest goal, or one of them, is to do with health. And, you read things, and sometimes it's hard not to get caught up in this fear mongering. But, okay, especially you read things like this type of food is horrible, and it's going to kill you, and you can't have any of it. And,
because different diets work for different people.
Right. Like this type of thing is always horrible in every circumstance. And,
and it gives you cancer.
And people
that one's my favorite.
And corporations are trying to poison you, and, GMOs and every, all these different types of things, chemicals and processed stuff. And,
found a way to get them out.
Right.
That's what I did.
I read this article about this person thought that, weirdly enough, polyunsaturated fats were like oils, like oils that are liquid, basically canola oil, stuff like that, are basically from the devil. They were like, this is poison, it's horrible. Yeah, like, so you know what I mean? Like, there's and you read these things. Oh, and some people will say the same thing about carbs and about also choose something, and someone will say something about it.
And the thing is, you have to just find a way to get them out. Like what I did. It will. Oh man, hey, just detox. Done.
Right. Or generally, the fears are overblown.
Yeah, I mean, what I tell people is different. There's a base diet that sort of works for most people, and then after you spin off of that, diets are that just depends on the person. I have seen anything from the paleo diet, which I was told was perfect, which for me does not work.
No.
Sorry, I just can't do the no carbs. I met somebody that did meat, sweet potatoes, and vegetables. She never touched fruit or anything else, which I would prefer than the paleo. Because for me, and this is just, talking about health and diets, for me, I have to have a carb. I can go without meat a lot easier than I can without a heavy carb. I just
I know. I like carbs.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't function as well. Hey, I'll cut the meat out. Screw that.
Right.
So,
and so like any type of food out there are people who are demonizing it. But the fact is, every food has its place. If you don't want to eat a certain type of food, it's your choice. But every food has its place. Like there's nothing that's like you just can never eat or something.
Like I know someone that a friend of mine that has to eat a lot of meat or she gets sick.
Yeah.
She has to eat. I don't remember what she is, hypoglycemic or something.
Yeah,
she
different
needs.
diets work different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So,
and, yep, different diets work for different people. So that's, yeah, go ahead.
no, so the point is, like, the same kind of stories are going where people say, oh, the corporations are trying to poison us, or everything is so horrible. And, you get, it's really easy to get into this fear-based thing where it just, okay, well, what can you do? If you can do something about it, like, okay, one big example is talk about factory farming, and and it's not a great reality. That's true. If you don't like that, and your thing is, to get like locally, local meat or grass fed, or that's your thing, but don't feed into the fear about it, because focusing on the solution is a lot more useful than focusing on the problem.
So, guys, we aren't saying that that's not true.
Right.
We didn't say anything wasn't true or it was true. We just said to take your responsibility and find a way to solve your specific dilemma.
Right, exactly. It's not, there's nothing, some of these things may be true in certain circumstances. They may be things you believe in, that you are passionate about, that mean something to you, but don't get lost in the fear. Don't get lost in, this demonizing of certain things or whatever, or this thing about, oh, you have no power. You have a lot of power. You have tons of power. And you can change your reality to what you want it to look like. You can do that. So if, any area of life, if you don't like how it's going, you can change it. It's not, especially as you get better at the law of attraction, which, I've, over the last 2 years, I've gotten a lot better at how I use it. And so I see one area of life, I think I'd like to change that, and I find ways of changing it. I just start manifesting different results, whatever. You can change it. Sometimes it amazes me, the results I've gotten in a pretty short period of time.
Stick with it. It might take you 6 to 8 months to find a good rhythm.
Yep.
But once you find that, it might take you a little while. It's not instantaneous, but boy, once you get rolling, you're unstoppable in that area.
Exactly. Right. There's nothing you can't change in your life if you want to change it. So that is, taking responsibility. Look through your life. What are you unhappy with? What are you blaming others about? What are you even resentful about sometimes? And take each of those situations. And it's hard because sometimes you have blind spots, oh, that is definitely that person's fault,
And here's the thing I say. Yeah, they did do that.
Right.
I allowed them to do it. Here's somebody, and I read this recently. You don't have to forgive them. You just have to be able to move on. You just have to.
That's exactly what I told Christine this recently, because there's someone from my childhood that I used to get along with really, really well. Really good family friend, that kind of thing. Oh. And this person hurt me a lot some years ago. Now, whether she meant to or not, who knows? But it happened, and it's not something I dwell on every day or something. But there's a difference between forgiving and forgetting.
That's right.
And Christine, when Christine and I were talking about the situation, Christine, you said oh, you should, get along with her and whatever, you should forgive her. I said, I did forgive her, but it doesn't mean that everything's great. It doesn't mean we click.
No, we're not. We may not ever click.
Right.
No.
Forgiveness doesn't mean, hey, what you did was okay.
No.
Or else, how could you ever forgive? How could you forgive? It wasn't this kind of severe sort of thing. But let's just say the most serious, an abuser or something. If forgiving meant what they did was okay, what they did will never be okay.
And the other thing you can do is rebalance your energy score with that person. You can do anything you need to move on, but but take responsibility for it. Because I would never tell somebody,
Exactly.
hey, it's your fault you got abused.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I mean,
no, of course
screw
not.
that. But I will say, okay, you got to take responsibility for it, and what I mean is just move on and
Right. If it's still in your life,
remove the energy.
if it's still in your life emotionally, that's yours. It's not theirs unless it's ongoing. Then do something to get out of it to the best
And
of your
I think
ability.
there's a difference between, like, it's okay to move on, but if you're bitter, like, if you don't really move on and you think you did, that's not a good thing.
No.
Yeah, but sometimes they can look very similar. I mean,
Yeah.
like if I talk about this person, I'm never going to say, oh yeah, she did this and it was fine. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't feel like I'm bitter. I just feel like that was kind of a stinky thing to do.
But you weren't bitter, no. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But
Yeah, I know. I'm saying
there are
something
people
like-
that hold grudges unhealthily.
Yeah.
I'm
then they get-
a grudge holder, I will admit.
But then they
Yeah.
get sick. They get diseases.
Right. And if it's something you're dwelling on, so here's the difference. If it's something you're dwelling on, like if you think about that person, like, I just don't like what they did in the past. Okay, and it's every once in a while, fine. It's not really going to affect you.
Yeah.
But if you're dwelling on it daily or weekly or pretty frequently, then that's something you got to heal.
No, I don't dwell on things, because that's no good. But I will never forget, and it's
right. There's a difference. I mean, if it's something from your past that's sort of like, I just don't like how that went, that's fair. It's going to be there as long as you don't dwell on it. That's where it gets unhealthy. And so you take responsibility. I mean, if it's ongoing, then do your best to take care of it if you can. No one's going to fault you as long as you're doing your best. If it's something that's in the past and it's still just emotionally with you, that you're dwelling on it, you're letting it affect you, then you have to take responsibility and say, you know what, this is over. I'm going to move on with my life. Doesn't mean it was okay. Doesn't mean I liked it or that it was, anything that should have happened. But it means that I'm going to move on with my life and not let this be an active part of my energy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's an active part of your energy, what happens? You draw more things like it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and you don't want to do that. And so that's what taking responsibility means. So kind of as a recap, self-forgiveness is when you blame yourself unnecessarily for something you feel you did in the past or something you didn't do, you should have done or whatever. And that helps you when you forgive yourself of that, even if it's something silly that, is really not your fault, it lets you free the energy so that you can move on. Taking responsibility is the other end, where when you're blaming someone or blaming life or just upset about something that's, you're feeling stuck about, you take ownership. You say, I have power to change this, and so I'm going to change it. So it's sort of two ends of the same spectrum, two sides of the same coin. You are either forgiving yourself or taking responsibility, sometimes both, and moving on. And that helps you to free that energy up.
And you can forgive yourself for what your part in it or for
sure.
that.
Yeah. Definitely.
You can definitely forgive yourself. Hey, if I had any part in this,
yep. Mm-hmm.
You can do the self-forgiveness thing. And then you take responsibility.
Right.
And move on.
And I think it's really helpful, especially when you have a manifestation that is around one of these areas. It's really helpful to go back if something's still bothering you and go through. And if you have to forgive yourself, forgive yourself. If you have to take responsibility, take responsibility. Just do what you have to do. And when I've done this with clients, they always, they say like it feels looser. It feels like there's a weight off their shoulders, so it's an important thing. So, yeah. So that is everything for today. I appreciate the discussion and those who are listening to the recording. Again, if you want to leave a comment, feel free. You can always like comments, or you can get the transcript by subscribing. And otherwise, we'll see everyone next week, although, again, we're kind of thinking about changing the time because it doesn't seem to work for a lot of people, so we'll keep you updated about that. But if you want updates about it, sign up for the list. You can enter your email below this recording. And otherwise, I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.